What's going on, guys, and welcome back. So Into the Inklands is just around the corner, and what does that mean? That means we're going to have a change up in the meta, at least hopefully. I'm going to be doing a few of these types of videos moving forward, as well as some predictions moving into that format to help everyone get better ready for it. If you're interested in this kind of content, please like, share, subscribe, all that stuff that helps out the channel for free. I really appreciate it. First and foremost, today we're talking about Emerald Steel. And how do you typically play that deck right now? Well, as you can see on the screen, there is one version of a top with this list, and it is a discard deck. The idea behind it is to completely control your opponent's hands, put out your big characters, and make them to the point where they cannot have anything. They lose their entire hand. So there's no reason to play cards like A Whole New World, because you don't want to refill your opponent's hand. Instead, turn 2, you try to put down a card like Bucky, followed up by Prince John on turn 3. And then turn 4, depending if you were able to, you could shift your Flynn Rider over your 1-drop Flynn Rider, or you can play things like Donald Duck, Hypnotize, things like Sudden Chill to make your opponent start to discard in order for you to draw off your Prince John. Jafar also being another 4 cost that you can play. So why this deck? Well, it's already borderline top 5. I think it was 6th on most tops of January. If you're curious on that video, it's up on this channel where we looked at the topping decks and colors throughout the entire month. And by tops, we dictated it by size of event. So we're not taking a top 8 from a 20-person tournament. We only took the top 2. Up to 40, we took top 4. Up to 100, top 8. Over 100, top 16. Just to give a actual better representation on the meta. Because again, you should not be taking half an event for the top cut of it. That is just silly. But anyway, like we said, you can see it on the screen how the deck kind of functions here. They have great removal in the form of Fire the Cannon, in Benja, Grab Your Swords. They can sing Strength of the Raging Fire, and they have incredible boss monsters like Beast Tragic Hero, Cinderella Stouthearted, and Tinkerbell Giant Fairy. Let's go ahead and look at another list. This one now you can see it's pretty similar, a little bit different here and there. They only play the 2 Buckies, so they're a little less dedicated on that play route, but they still have the 4 Prince Johns and the Hypnotizes and your Lucifers, and this one actually goes with the Bibbidi Boppity Boo, because you can play Lucifer, make them discard either 1 action or 2 cards, Bibbidi Boppity back to your hand, and then you can play it again right away and make them discard 2 more cards. So another version of a discard deck. This one also playing things like Smash and Namari. There's a lot of flexibility when it comes to this deck. We also even saw them playing the 6-drop Beast character as of late, who can ready himself when your opponent takes damage, and then they play things like Grab Your Swords, which obviously they're all playing already, but also Fire the Cannons and other cards to do damage to your opponent. The 1 Hans, where he can go quest for 2 and then deal 1 damage to your opponent, which means your beast can ready and then quest again. So it's just a very effective way to quest very quickly. Will be interesting to see if that variant continues on. Anyway, we're here to talk about new cards and moving forward. What do we expect for this deck going forward? Do we think it's going to continue to be a discard deck, or is it going to change slightly? Well, one of the first cards we're going to talk about, we're going to go over the few steel ones. Obviously, not everything is revealed, so as of right now, we're just talking about what is revealed, and I'm not going to go over all the cards, just some cards I think you should keep an eye on. They got Kita, which essentially is their Simba. It's a 2-cost bodyguard. It's a 2/3, so this just allows them to help protect their combos a little bit more. I almost wonder if Bucky will almost see no play, and this will be the go-to 2-drop, and then in its place, Prince John comes down on 3, you have your bodyguard, and you can go and do about your combo that way. Then even your Prince John once in a while maybe can quest, or you just protect your other characters in the process and leave your Prince John ready, and then he has wards. So essentially they need something like Grab Your Swords or along those lines to deal with it. Next up is And Then Along Came Zeus, a 4-cost uninkable, deal 5 damage to chosen character or location. This is interesting. I almost wonder how much it's going to get played. I think Grab Your Swords is nicer versus like aggro and for going wide decks, but dealing 5, especially depending how prevalent locations are, this card is going to be very strong with a lot of potential. They also have their 3-drop card. I can't remember the name right now. By the time the video comes up, I'll have the image up for you guys. But it's a 3-drop inkable card, and you can destroy an item or a location. That is crazy because a lot of locations have 5, 6, 7 willpower, and you want to just be able to take it down like nothing. And will it see play in place of Benja? Benja still quests for 2, so he's good that way. I feel like Smash is one of those iffy cards too. Between Benja, Smash, and that card, I do think we're going to see some changes in the ratios. Personally, I really like it because, again, being able to just deal with your opponent's cards quickly and in one swing. A location, the new aspect of the game, and, well, it's Steel. They kind of specialize in resist. Why not go ahead and get another resist? So Maui's Place of Exile. It has 5 willpower, costs 1 to move here. It's a 2-drop inkable card. Characters gain resist 1 while here. That can be very good because now all of a sudden your Prince John does not lose to Grab Your Swords. It will still lose, however, to a... Well, actually, never mind. I was going to say it will lose to a Smash, but they cannot target it because of the ward. So putting your Prince John in Maui's Place of Exile makes it very hard to deal with because, again, a single Grab Your Swords will no longer do it. They could, however, drop a big Tink and then Grab Your Swords. That would, but there's a lot of things in the game that deals with. Going into some Emerald cards now. Emerald was the color that performed the least throughout January, and I think it's gotten some of the best support moving into the Inklands. The first location we're going to mention is Fang River City. We're going to mention this card not because you get 2 lore when characters move here, or at the start of your turn, sorry. At the start of your turn, if you're unfamiliar with locations, you get their lore value. They come in exerted, they stay exerted, and your opponent can attack them immediately. So it's a 4-cost inkable, 2 costs to move here, 6 willpower. Characters gain ward and evasive while here. So that's pretty good. They're evasive and ward. You can deal with Surfer Mini much easier. You don't need to play specific cards for it because your cards gain evasive. And then you have the ward, so you really only have to worry about the mass damage type cards. And again, you get 2 lore at the beginning of your turn. Cursed Merfolk. This card is actually kind of crazy. So it already pairs up really well if you play this turn 1 and then you come back turn 2 with Flynn Rider. There are 2 cards that quest for 2 right away, and both of them, if your opponent tries to challenge them, they must discard a card. So this doesn't do any damage, but it does have 1 willpower, so it's going to lose to a lot of things. That is true, but again, your opponent discarding their cards, so you gain that early control, or they're going to have to wait until they get something to deal with it. What turn 1 removal is there? Befuddle can bounce it back to the hand. You have Fire the Cannon that can hit it turn 1. Otherwise, it's going to be able to quest for at least 2 every time it sees the board, and probably 4 to 6 before your opponent can realistically deal with it, especially if you throw down that Bodyguard in turn 2. Ursula. This card is going to be defining the meta. When you play this character, chosen opponent reveals their hand and discards a song of your choice. Well, what if they don't have a song? Or what if you're not playing against Ruby or Steel? So obviously those are the decks that have songs that matter the most. Be Prepared or Grab Your Swords. Whole New World as well. You can either ink it because it's inkable, or you can still play it. Look at their hand. You don't discard because they don't have a song, or they have a worse song and you still discard that in plus. But let's say you don't discard anything, you still see their hand, you gain that knowledge, and now you can play out your hand more effectively based off of that. The other one that this card is just insane is Morph. You can play any character with shift on this character as if this character had any name. Well, why is that a big deal, right? It's a 2-cost, 2/1, 1 quester, but is it really going to see that much play? I think it will, especially in Emerald Steel, a deck that already has some incredible boss monsters like we mentioned. Cinderella Stouthearted is a 5 shift. Tinkerbell Giant Fairy is a 4 shift. You have your Hercules, your true hero, who is also a 4 shifter. So Morph will work with all of these cards, meaning you don't have to play the Bodyguard Hercules, you can play the 2-cost Kita instead. You can still play the 3-cost Hercules if you want. Also, your Cinderella cards, you don't necessarily need to play the 2-drop Cinderella anymore because Morph plays into that for you. Tinkerbell, again, if you want to play some for the repeated draw and searching through your deck, go for it. But if you don't, Morph now gives you a potential shift option into your big Tinkerbell. That's pretty good, isn't it? Well, there is one more. Beast Tragic Hero is a 3 shift. So with Morph, you can go ahead and throw down your Beast Tragic Hero on turn 3. No more waiting till turn 5. Turn 3, you can get very aggressive and take control of the game with your Beast Tragic Hero. Unfortunately, if you do not have your Beast Tragic Heroes, I expect their price to continue to go up. It's probably going to get close to triple digits when all is said and done, unless they do a mass reprinting of the set and it becomes much more accessible, but it's already accessible. It's just a hard card to pull, and it's a meta-defining staple. I don't think it's going to come down in price. Anyways, guys, this is kind of my thoughts on Emerald Steel and where I think they're going to be. Right now, looking at all the decks all the cards that have been revealed, I think this deck is a strong case to be in the top 3, and for sure will be in the top 5 decks moving into the Inklands format. Again, if you liked this video and are curious to see other color combinations, we're going to work on Steel Song next because, well, there's a lot to talk about there, and then probably Amber Amethyst Aggro because, again, I am excited for the new cards. Thank you guys for watching, and until next time, take care.